In this video, I want to show you how you can create a simple framework for comparing CSV text files with each other. We're going to do that with two tools. One's a tool called DuckDB and the other is a tool called Data-Diff. Before we go straight into how we create that framework, I want to really show you what these tools are for, particularly how we're using DuckDB, because that's going to set us up for how we're using it with our kind of framework. So DuckDB is a simple kind of in-process database. We use it as kind of an in-memory database for doing some lightweight operations. But one of its key features for us is that it allows us to use kind of files, text files and CSV files that are on our local system as though they were any other table in a database. And I'll show you that in a second. And we'll be using Data-Diff by a company called Datafold. This is the open source version of their tool that allows you to, as I say, compare originally two tables in two different databases. They could be in separate architectures as well. So you have Snowflake and SQL Server, for example. Okay, so let me start by just showing you how we use DuckDB today. So I'm going to launch our DuckDB application. And once we've launched our application, I can write a query that queries a CSV file. And there we go. So you can also kind of load that data into a table if you want to, like this, and then query that table as well. Okay, there we go. So let me exit DuckDB. So that's just how we're using it today. And I probably use this tool at least once or twice a week for kind of peering into some of these raw files. So how does our framework work? Well, you can see kind of the structure I've got up here. I've got a parent folder and I've got kind of a source 1 and a source 2 folder. And in each of those folders, I've got files that I want to compare with each other. Now the reason for putting them in separate folders will become clear in a minute. So the first thing I need to do is create a empty or virtually empty DuckDB database. So rather than using rather than using the in-memory database, we want to create a persistent database. But this database is just going to be effectively a proxy for Data-Diff to talk to our text files. So to do that, we launch DuckDB, but this time give it a path to a database that we want to use. It doesn't matter that that file doesn't yet exist. DuckDB will create it for us once we're ready. So there we are. We're back in our DuckDB environment. And what I'm going to do, instead of selecting data or reading data into a table, I'm going to create a view. So here we go. So I've created a view called file1. And that view is selecting from our folder. There we go. And we can test this by writing a simple query. And there's the results from our file. So hopefully now you can see why we've created separate folders. In DuckDB, we can use wildcard characters. So I can tell it to load all the files in any given folder. So rather than it just being a single file against a single file you want to compare, it might be that you've got maybe a day's worth of sales files that come in every few minutes, and you want to put all of those files in, and you want to compare your production system with your development system and check they're aligned. This will allow you to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to create our second view doing exactly the same thing. There we go. And we can now exit DuckDB. And you can see now it's created that simple database file. Okay. So now it's just a case of launching Data-Diff and pointing it at that database file. So we're going to say we go. That's the command I want. I want it to point at DuckDB, at this file, and I want to compare the view file 1 with the view file 2. And there we have our results. So you can see that it has identified a record that has changed. So you can see that the kind of category of this record has changed. And I can see that I've lost 3 records from my new file, but gained 2 records from my file. And actually, you'll notice that on the end of this command, I added this flag here. What that did is it told it to divert the results back to a table in our database. So if I now launch my DuckDB, again going into that file that we created, I can now query those results. There we go. So that would be useful if you had a large number of differences or a large number of variances and you wanted to go off and analyze some of those variances. And we can exit again. So that hasn't gone into massive detail on any of those tools, but hopefully giving you some ideas of how those tools can be used together. Obviously, Data-Diff has a whole set of commands that you can use, as does DuckDB, which you might need to tailor to your specific use case. But anyway, I hope you found that useful, and let me know what you managed to do with it. Bye.